4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas. Today is Memorial Day. Today is the day that the Oath Keepers are coming to Tucson. They're gathering right now, even as I speak, on West Valencia and South Wade. I will be there, folks. If you're listening and you're headed out there, you're going out there, you can listen to us on TalkStream. I will be there. I'll probably be the only one not walking. I'll be the one on the motorcycle. And, but I will be there, and the speakers and everything will be up, and all of the statements, and all the action will be at the Hotel Arizona. That's on Congress, which turns into Broadway in Tucson. Just, I think it's 151. And my guest today, I've got a feeling, is in accord with me that we need to make some changes. We need to do something different here. And Joshua Daniels, hello, how are you?
Good morning, sir. Well, it is a beautiful spring day in Tulsa, Oklahoma. How is it where you are?
It's great. It's just great. It's temperature's it's not going to be that hot today, and it's probably 70 degrees outside. Beautiful day for riding. Beautiful day for a march, and that's what we're doing on Memorial Day. The Oath Keepers are coming to Tucson to march on behalf of the 26-year-old Marine veteran that was mowed down by the Pima County, Arizona SWAT team. He had no criminal record, and the only justification given by the sheriff's spokesman for using SWAT to serve a warrant was there was a search warrant in a narcotics conspiracy investigation with 3 other homes searched in the same neighborhood.
Good Lord.
This is their policy when the homeowner may be armed. Now, the point the Oath Keepers are making, not one of them marching today, not one of us would react any differently than this young man did. If your wife tells you there's unarmed men, there's armed men in your front yard, and I've been through robberies, I've had guns pointed at me, I would have reacted the same way the young Marine did.
That's exactly how I would react, no matter what costumes they're wearing at the door. And, well, I had at least one ancestor that I know of and 6 of his brothers in the American Revolution, over 30 family members in the Civil War, fighting for freedom, thank you. And all I can do, I mean, I'm looking out my window, there's a cemetery across the street that is just adorned with flags. First thing this morning, I saluted them. And I have to salute this young man and say I grieve for his family. But this, I don't know how many times Americans have to see this to understand we are being made war upon, and they must look at it in a military sense. And I'm bringing that up in reference to what we're going to talk about with the Sea Lions Foundation today, and why looking at it in a military sense led me to the things that you see on the Sea Lions Foundation site, although there's nothing on there about weapons.
You understand, Joshua, that I've been demonized more than probably any talk show host out there because I started the militias. And what people don't understand is that I started the militia in New Mexico in the governor's office. I did nothing wrong. I did exactly what our founding fathers would have recommended, would have done to defend the American people. The militia was not a terrorist organization. It was sanctioned by the governor. It was covered by the governor, and we were under his instructions.
There's at least one guy running for president who will take that a step further and give military training to any American, male or female, over age of 18 who wants it, and send their weapons, uniform, and communications equipment home with them, along with a monthly ammo allotment. There is no safety better than an armed and trained America.
That's true homeland security. That's people protecting themselves. You know, I pointed out when 9/11 happened, and I've got films of the first Homeland Security meeting where they say, oh, in case of a earthquake on the New Madrid fault line, in case of a single outbreak of smallpox in a major metropolitan area, we'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops.
Well, they tipped their hands because the only people who have smallpox, I was just reading about this debate this morning, are American bioweapons labs who are reluctant to destroy them, even though all the moral people in the world are screaming, burn that stuff. We eradicated it except for what's in those vials, burn them.
Yeah, and by the way, I've got a book in my hand right now, the testimony, the 1948 interrogation of Heinrich Müller. That was the SS chief in Germany, and he says that first swine flu that came along was ours. It came from us. We made it for the American people, and then it got loose in the world.
We're talking about 1918.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's been proven beyond any reasonable doubt. Most people don't know it, but if you take discussions like that very far without it penetrating their pop-up filter, they think it's just America bashing, and they tend to shut you down.
Joshua, you know, we're not the rebels here. I mean, I didn't start the militia to take over the government. I took over the militia to protect the government, which is the American people.
That's right. Yeah, my and your first, middle, and last name are at the top of the supreme law of the land. We, the people. First, middle, and last. We're the ones who authorized the federal government. We delegated authority to it.
And they've abused that authority.
They've abused it. And then we handed it over to the states and said, okay, now you guys ratify this and deal with it if it seems good to you. But we authorized it. We delegated that authority, and we can take it back. When you delegate something, it is still yours. When you delegate authority, it is still yours.
Not under the Communist Manifesto, as I understand it.
I'm talking about reality. If I delegate you the authority to rent out my house for a certain amount of money, and I decide we're not going to rent it anymore, I'm going to come live in it, I can take that back. It's still my house. The authority to rent it or live in it is mine. It's still my choice, and I would just be saying, okay, well, I don't need you as property manager anymore. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Now, let me go over. Let me go over your platform very quickly here. If you ran for president in 2012. Your platform would be a return to Americanism. You know, yesterday, 1903, and one of my favorite songs. You would pay off your debts owed to any American person, company, or government agency. This will hit the reset button on the economy so people can start buying, selling, and working again without a house payment or a car payment or student loan or credit card payments.
That's correct, and that's easy, and that will not create any inflation whatsoever because we're going to shut down the Federal Reserve right afterward. So all that money, I just fed it into one end of the python to get it all the way to the other end and take care of all the accounting, and then kill the python.
You would seal the border and effectively, with justice, to deal with the illegal immigrant problem. That means deporting them. This frees up 15 million jobs for Americans, removes the burden of 30 million people from the welfare rolls. And you know, there's certainly, we could certainly equip those people to go back and establish the same kind of society that we've got here. What America was once and what it could be again, if the proper platform is the leader in freedom and liberty for the people of the world.
You know, that's an amazing idea. If we send, let's say, out of those 30 million people, probably 25 million of them are Mexican.
You work for us now. You work for us now. You got to go down and straighten your. You got to set up the trade routes. You got to set up the deal. We're gonna. We'll try. We think we can grow better hemp than you can down there. So we're going to compete with you. It won't be quite so easy to set up these smuggling rings that are controlled by the Mossad and the CIA, which are simply the Secret Service agencies for the banksters. Have I got this right yet?
Well, we can gut those smuggling rings by simply reminding all the governments in the land that no government has any authority whatsoever over what you do or don't do to your body. If you want to put powder in it or smoke stuff with it or cut pieces off of it, that is your right.
And this whole thing they made, Anne Rand had it right when she said government has no control over the honest citizens, so they have to make criminals out of us. That's what the tax laws, that's what the drug laws. What do you got in your pocket there, son? What have you been smoking, son?
My answer to that is, how bad do you want to know?
Now, if you seal the borders, that would, if we'd sealed them 10 years ago, we'd have 50,000 more people that have been murdered by illegals here. You would disband the IRS, stop collecting the income tax, pardon anyone convicted under Title 26 U.S. Code, violates constitutional requirements that direct taxes be uniform throughout the land, and is a felony violation of your rights under the Constitution.
That's correct.
The IRS is not a federal agency. The Federal Reserve is not a federal bank. So you would basically just nationalize this, take it back for the American people.
Well, the IRS and the Federal Reserve are both committing crimes every day. They're going to go to prison for it. I'm not going to nationalize the Federal Reserve. I'm going to lock its documents in the evidence locker for use by the U.S. Attorney to put those men and women in prison.
All right.
Ditto the leaders of the IRS. There's nothing to nationalize it. If I catch somebody in an armed robbery, I don't nationalize his gun. I confiscate it and anything else he used in that robbery.
Okay.
It is the president's main job to see that the laws of the United States are faithfully enacted, and that includes, most importantly, the laws that state that it is a felony to violate any American's rights under the Constitution.
And that's listed in Bill of Rights. Matter of fact, my Liberty Village is called for a Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and Constitution be on the wall of every office. But you do say that you would nationalize the Federal Reserve, which would eliminate the national debt and the budget deficits and issue hard money whose value does not change. And
that's correct.
So I kind of read that ahead, sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry. I know you're right. I should probably change that word nationalize, but then a lot of people, they understand it, so maybe we'll leave it there. I'll have to talk with my...
I think it's all right. I mean, the people already think, the people already believe the Federal Reserve is their country's bank. They don't know that it's owned...
That's true, but it's been a long time since I met anybody who doesn't understand that it's a private corporation and that that's a bad thing. It should be a national thing. And actually, the Treasury is competent to issue money. We can issue money backed by the land, the 650 million acres of land the federal government owns, until we get our gold and silver and platinum reserves built back up.
And you would, with all these homes, now George Bush, our president, walked out of the White House, handed $2 trillion to the owners of the Federal Reserve, as far as I can tell.
Well, he's going to prison forever when I'm president. Well, at least he's going to an American jury. I can't say what's going to happen after that. If the jury lets him walk on all the charges we have on him.
Now, we've already your second thing. I think we're supposedly we've already got this. You would set grand juries in every jurisdiction with subpoena, search, contempt, and arrest power. These grand juries would be authorized to investigate anything they wish and indict anyone, including government officials at any level.
No, we don't have that. We have grand juries that are hand-fed specific cases by the U.S. Attorney or the Attorney General or the District Attorney, who basically runs them. They only get to see the things he wants them to see. They cannot issue a subpoena and send in the marshals or the sheriff to bring the documents or bring the person in front of them.
And if all these law enforcement agencies are protecting the agents of the banksters, they're protecting the IRS, that are using the sheriff to come in and confiscate your property.
And to make sure that none of that ever goes in front of a grand jury, right?
And you would accept all the foreclosed homes from the banks as payment for paying off their debts, and lottery these 12 million American homes to Americans who do not own property.
That's correct.
Now, let me ask you one other thing. Now, this has been my favorite theme: Liberty Villages. You know, every home in a Liberty Village would have its own power source, a windmill or a generator, or a wind generator or a solar unit.
Wind, solar, or water. Don't forget water. You've got a lot of water up in space.
That's right. And we're gonna get into the aquatics here in just a moment. But what about it? It's we give the homes back. If we generate our own power, why do we have to? I've said Obama's idea of generating power is put a windmill on, sell a top of a mountain to a foreign corporation, so they can put windmills up there, pump the electricity down, sell it to the power companies, so the power companies can sell it to us. Why can't we cut out the middleman?
Because the middleman works for the corporation who wants your money. And the corporation has more guns than you do. The corporation sent in that SWAT team to murder that young man in Tucson. Please remember, no matter what uniform they're wearing, they work for the corporations of the banks, which are run primarily by the Rothschilds out of England. And they're not English. They're something else, but they have no loyalty to any borders, any nation, any people. You're not going to cut out the middleman as long as the corporation has more guns than you do. That's why one of the main planks in my platform, which is not even up there yet, I'm going to talk to my webmaster, is that I will offer military training to any American who wants it and send home with him or her their uniform, weapons, and communications gear and a monthly ammo allotment.
You know, if my whole plan for Liberty Villages was to give the veterans a home, the old folks a home. Yeah. The old folks certainly wouldn't mind watching the kids. My grandfather taught me to read. You know, the idea for Liberty Villages is like an extended family. You know, my grandfather died at home. You know, that's where he should have died. You know.
Well, if you're interested in rebuilding family, then you will be targeted aggressively by the forces of evil.
Well, certainly has happened. You know, somebody told me once, Clay, you know, it's statistically impossible for anybody to have the kind of bad luck that you've had here.
Oh, I know that story. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I haven't had your level, but I've had my share. I'm up into statistically impossible realms. Oh, yeah. I understand.
So if we've taken back over the banks here, and we've put these homes back up to people that lost them, and your next plank is reestablish men's rights in the family.
That's correct. Currently, the only group against whom it is lawful to discriminate are single white men, are white men, and it is a crime to parent while male, no matter what race you're of. Black, white, it doesn't matter. I don't know, you remember the black athlete in Florida that he got sued for child support in a divorce, and his answer was, that child is not mine, I never adopted it, and the judge said, well, we're interested in what's in the best interest of the child, so you're going to pay child support anyway.
Now, this next plank here, I think, is really, really important, because I have mentioned that the war on terror is a war against anyone anywhere in the world that doesn't want to go along with one world government of the banksters, by the banksters, and for the bankers. And the war on drugs was a war on the American people. And we warned in the Free American about NAFTA and CAFTA and GATT. You say you would end the war on terror, war on drugs, NAFTA, CAFTA, GATT, bring home every military person and other agent abroad. No government has the right to tell you what you can or cannot do with your body. Empire America and the New World Order ends on Inauguration Day. This whole war on drugs, this veteran was sacrificed in a war on drugs.
The 10th Amendment forbids any American empire to exist. Anything that's not specifically granted the federal government in the Constitution, they're not allowed to do. Now, they are allowed to make war on other countries, but that's limited by other things in the Constitution. We're allowed to repel invasion, and we're allowed to operate on the high seas, right, which in my mind would include the Air Force, but if somebody wanted to mount a legal challenge to that, then that's fine. We'll answer that in court, and we'll see what the courts want to do with it. Okay? But we are, by our Constitution, we are limited to being a defensive nation. We're not allowed preemptive strikes. We're not allowed to occupy countries like we have Germany and Japan for the last 60 years, well, on 700 bases around the world. Those are blatant violations of the limitations on the federal government placed by our Constitution. We, the people, wrote that law. They, the government, are breaking it. They're the criminals. They're going in front of a jury in jail greens and handcuffs when I'm president. We're not going to fix what's wrong. We're going to arrest the criminals and start doing things in accordance with law and order. We're going to reestablish the rights of the ordinary American to go about their business. The Declaration of Independence says that the governments are established to secure, as in make safe, the liberties of the people.
Now, I like this. You would end all gun laws at every level in accordance with your Second Amendment rights, and provide military training to any citizen who wishes, who then will then take their uniform, equipment, and weapons home, no restrictions on use other than state crime laws, and receive a monthly ammo allotment.
That's right.
Abolish all unconstitutional laws and taxes such as Patriot Acts, Obamacare, and many more. Those who are dependent on government checks will be provided for at least as well as they are now.
That's correct. Even though those payments, when they originally set up, they were crimes of stealing from one group to give to another group they had no right to support, those people are now dependent on that, and we're not going to yank the safety net out from under anybody.
What about regrowing hemp in America? It was our number one cash crop, billion-dollar crop according to popular science. It was taken from us. It was sent to Red China. We got 10,000 products we can make out of hemp, but we got to buy the raw materials from Red China.
Yeah. Who has the right to tell you can't grow something on your land? I'm sorry. Is there what the?
If you don't believe in black helicopters, try growing some pot out in your backyard.
Oh yeah, really? No, but when I'm president, your property rights under the Constitution will be secure, and our right means you get to do with it what you want. Now here's where a lot of people are gonna try to create a red herring or a straw man. They're gonna say, well, if you can have a pig farm on your property, then the effluent from that is going to affect other people's properties, so there need to be zoning laws. And the answer is no, there don't. You have the right to do with your property what you want, not run your garbage out into the property next door. That includes sights and smells and obnoxious sounds. I mean, you know, your rights end at your property line on your property. So if you want to have a pig farm, it's going to be soundproof. You know, and if it's in the middle of a residential neighborhood, it's going to be clean up after itself. You know, all those things. But your property is your property, or at least it will be when I'm president. Today, your property isn't yours; it's owned by the government, and the proof of that is that you have to write them a check every year to continue using it.
What's happened to America is these political parties are basically two wings of the same bird, the Republicans and Democrats. And you know, the terms conservative and liberal are used to divide, being the oldest of maximum warfare, divide and conquer. And Americans can't work together. They can't work together because they won't realize what the problem is, and they can't conceive of a war. I've been telling people on my website for 10 years or more that we're in a war. We're in a war, and we're the Palestinians. We are the Indians today.
Well, there was an article yesterday on rents.com that I was just referred to. I've got to go back and read it and study it carefully. It's how to get through to people without triggering their pop-up filter. There's a chemtrails, pharmaceuticals. Every other commercial on television is for some kind of pharmaceuticals. Read the contraindications. They'll kill you. They kill more people than cocaine or heroin. Yeah, but if you're malnourished, you got to have something to get through your day. And until you address the malnutrition problem, you're going to have disease. And as long as you have disease, there's a market for pharmaceuticals. And we're going to have malnutrition until someone addresses the whole problem of the fact that our soil has washed all the minerals down to the sea, and the soil is played out. This was presented to the Senate in a report in 1934, that American soil, no matter how rich or black it may be in some places, is played out.
And if you're spraying it with aluminum or barium, it's going to further deplete it, isn't it? The nutritional value.
It's going to poison it so that you can only grow Monsanto crops in it that have been specifically engineered to grow in aluminum and barium salted soil. Yeah.
Absolutely. Happening right now.
Happening right now, yeah. And from a military standpoint, you know, I look at all this and I say, yeah, we got a war on our hands. But the fact is, we have been invaded, and all of the infrastructure we need to win this war has been taken over by the enemy. I mean, seriously. Even in the last week of the war in 1945, when the German army fought on with undiminished ferocity, they could only do so because there was somebody at the ammo plant making ammo, and there was still a truck driver or a bunch of women with backpacks bringing the ammo to the soldiers. And they had their own water and their own food. If they had had to buy that from the American army, there's no way they could have gone on. And that's exactly where we are today, because that has all been taken over. Anyone who grasps the situation, in my opinion, I mean, this is the only conclusion I come up with, and no one's ever been able to argue it. I mean, no one's ever even tried. You must build your own infrastructure. And because they have total control of what goes on the land masses of the planet, that means going to sea. Fortunately, we can do that.
Well,
we'll be back.
That timing, your timing on that is almost perfect. Now, this first half hour, we've talked about if you're running for president, you got your platform up, and we will have the link to that.
Thank you.
Very quickly here.
Now, I want to say to the public, when you look at that platform and you think there's no way he can do this, there's two things you need to know. One, yes, if I were president, I could. Because everything on there is just a matter of sending in the federal marshals with orders to make it happen. Arrest all the people who are doing the wrong things, and then issue executive orders to the people, the administrators who do the right things. But, more importantly, you need to support the guy who can read, First Choice 2012, because in doing that, you will meet and hook up with the people that you need to know, to be friends with in the trouble that is to come. You don't want to be friends with anyone who can't think straight, with anyone who doesn't understand right from wrong, truth from fiction. They'll get you killed or worse. So support the guy who can read so that you meet all these other people. And if there actually is an election, we'll win it. If there isn't, which I don't think there's going to be, it's going to be something like a plebiscite, then whatever you choose to do next, you'll have formed the circle of friends that you need to succeed at it, or to have a chance of succeeding. That's
the concepts we're going to be talking about next. How to use the sea. I've told everybody, and we pretty much known how to use the land. There's another resource for you folks out there. And if you'll hang on just a second, we'll be right back.